I asked for God to return my child, and I will make it my purpose to do the same, and I will. I totally will. Good morning. It has been a little while, so I thought I would check in. It seems like quite a bit's going on. Let's see. Dad is here, and because his sister had a medical procedure, and he was able to talk the hospital into letting him visit. For months they've been trying to get hold of him, and of course he's been out of the picture, but thankfully he's back in. So he went to visit her yesterday, and I must admit I'm a little jealous because I would love to see her, but she's still referring to me by my first name. So she's told her dad she's not speaking to Laurel. And he said he went for a couple hours and said he had a very nice visit, that she's definitely seems to be back on the mend, which makes me happy. Still not seeing things clearly, but seeing things a little more clearly, agreeing to go back to the group home until we can come up with another plan. Just wanted to hop on with another update without it sliding around in my car this time. Let's see. I spoke to a hospital psychiatrist yesterday, and he had left her dad a message to call him, that he wanted to talk to her dad, and her dad told me, and I said, well, I want to be part of that call. So it would seem, since her dad went to visit her at the hospital, and the fact that I wrote a letter to the hospital with services I'd like to see in place, they don't really want to talk to me anymore, probably don't want me to keep bugging them about putting services in place, doing their job. So I was on the call. The doctor was very dismissive with me, and I was very irritated with it. I was irritated that he was trying to keep me from the call to begin with, especially since he's tried her dad for months and has, her dad would never call back, and then all of a sudden he's the only contact. So that was annoying, but I'm really trying to be zen and not let this stuff bug me, and I'm really trying to hope for the best. I really am. But yesterday was a bit of a struggle, and I asked the doctor again about vitamins and the fact that I think, is there any way they could check her vitamin levels? And I think nutrition has a lot to do with this problem. It shouldn't all be about psychotropic or whatever medication. They don't want to focus on anything but that. And he and I had discussed this once already, and he thought it was a good idea to talk to her about her vitamin levels and whatnot. But all of a sudden, I wrote this letter asking him about it after the call we had, and he was acting as though he'd never heard this before and informed me that's not his job, that's the job of her primary care physician. And I reminded him of the conversation that we had, and I tried to be pleasant about it, and he was all, acting again like he did not know what I was talking about. And I said, well, how about the hospital she's in has a nutrition program that they can actually sign people up for. So I said, how about your nutrition program? I said, can you somehow get her signed up with that? I really think we need to work on nutrition as well. And he's like, no. Since COVID, they don't do that anymore. So at this point, I can feel like, when you can just feel the blood rushing to your head because you're getting really frustrated. Oh, and he kept saying, oh, I can barely hear you. I could barely hear you as I'm like yelling into the phone. And quite frankly, I could barely understand him. So it's two-way street here, buddy. But anyways, I'm regressing. I said the nutrition program, I'd like to enroll her in that, or see if you can work with her on meeting a nutritionist, whatever it might be. And he says, no, with COVID, they don't do that anymore. So I said, well, you might want to remind the people, the recording on the phone, because every time I'm waiting, I wanted to say every time I'm waiting for your ass to come to the phone, but I didn't. Every time I'm waiting on the phone for St. Mary's, they are talking about this nutrition program and looking into the nutrition program. So perhaps you ought to talk to them about taking that off the recording. And then he totally backpedaled. Oh, well, maybe they're doing it again. I'll look into it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that was the great conversation. I'm sure everyone can relate to the frustrations of talking to the medical providers that are supposed to be providing and are giving the bare minimum. But again, I'm still hoping for the best. I ask for every service possible, because if you don't ask and keep bugging them, you will get nothing, and that's just the way it goes. So you really have to be on their tails about this. And then I'm gonna call. I haven't heard anything from the social worker there. I'm telling you, I don't think they liked my letter that said what I think needed to happen before discharge. And now they're talking about discharging her next week, that's fine, but we need to have a plan. It is Thursday, and they're thinking beginning of next week. So what's the plan? So I need to call the social worker, and I know I feel frustrated now, but I really am going to go into it not feeling frustrated and expecting a good outcome, because the frustration is never a good thing. Sometimes it is a good thing because I think it's a motivator. But anyway, that's where we're at, and hopefully I'll get a little further today when I talk to the social worker, and then I also will have to call the house that she's going to be returning to, begrudgingly returning to, but we really need to all work together to make this happen. So wish me luck. Okay, I'm checking back in. I took a little break so that I could do a quick check-in. I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling a little. I got back to I tried calling the social worker at the hospital, couldn't get through. And then I tried the house where she was living, and I couldn't get through, but I think they might have seen that I called, because they called me back and they never call me. So they called me back. I was in the office, thankfully, by myself, so I was able to talk. And it was the director, it's the new director. And he was saying that he spoke to the hospital social worker and that she is refusing to go back to the house. She's refusing to utilize an ACT team person to be an extra support person. So basically, she's just refusing all services. And the thought is to release her on Monday. But if she doesn't go back to the house, she has no place to go. So it really makes no sense whatsoever. So that's heightened my frustration a bit. And then I sent a message to her dad and, kind of let him know what was going on, and kind of sharing my frustration, because I feel like I have done a whole lot of legwork and I really need his help, but he hasn't been able to do that. Just emotionally, he's been cut off, and he came here to see his sister who was sick, and he did go see, and he was somewhat helpful in that regard. But apparently his sister had surgery and it didn't get, the cancer has spread, so she's gonna have to start chemotherapy. So he's just tapped out. He's tapped out, and it really makes me sad. She's younger than me. I'm quite close to her, and I have tried to be so positive, and I am continuing to try to be, but it's just really frustrating, because life, my coworker's brother just died. It's like so much shit going on, and I have been studying A Course in Miracles, which talks about there's no death, but try to tell the living that. So it's like my my own positivity is annoying me. I can see why it annoys people that are in a bad place, but I refuse to let it bring me all the way down. I still am holding out a shred of hope. I bought a box of cards, and I'm gonna send this to, as just thinking about how nice it would be to catch up. I miss you. And I wrote in it, life is too short to be angry. Let's start over. I love you to the moon and back. XOXO, Mom. Short and sweet. But I also wrote a letter. And I know these do not go over well with her. But it's like, I don't know what else to do. She won't listen to me. She won't talk to me. So I'm going to read the letter. I'm going to send this tomorrow. And what the fuck? What do I have to lose? So I just wrote, I know you don't want to hear from me, and I have tried to give you the distance you request, but I love you, and I want to help you make a plan, since you have none. I didn't say that. The staff at NFI are new, and they want you to know that they are making changes, and believe if you give them a chance, you will see that it is not so bad. The staff miss you, and new staff are excited to meet you. They have heard how awesome you are. The new clinical case manager, Marina, is trying to schedule a visit at the hospital to meet you. If you want to find your own place, a caseworker from the ACT team can help you. They can also help with transportation and be an advocate for you. They are a great program through Tri-County. The more people you have supporting you, the better chances you will have finding a place to live and maybe your job or some classes. Would you be willing to meet with Marina or someone from Tri-County to see what they can do for you? You can decide to work with them or not. Just hear what they have to say. So I feel like that's short and sweet. I'm not putting pressure on her. I'm making some light suggestions that I don't even know if the hospital is suggesting these things. So at this point, I got to go straight to the source because, you know, we're getting down to the wire if they want to release her next week. And yeah, so I know you're used to me throwing out some positivity at you. And I'm telling you, even through all this, and I'm fucking pissed, but there's this, like, a piece inside of me that still knows things are good in the long run, still knows there is a God and there is a light, and I'm holding on to that. But right now, the light is very, very, very tiny. I'm looking through a very small hole, and I'm hoping that gets better. But I think it's good to share all emotions because anybody going through this, I say it all the time, but it's hell on earth, and I just want to learn how to make it better, and then I want to show you that it can be done. And that is the whole point of this, is to show you that shit gets bad, but we're gonna get through this together.